You are staring at a spreadsheet at 11:43 p.m. on a Tuesday that has no name, because every Tuesday has looked the same for 3 years. You work in logistics, mid-level, coordinating freight between warehouses in 4 states. And the work is fine, the salary acceptable, and nothing about it has ever made your hands shake. Your father calls that night to remind you that your cousin just closed on a house in Austin on a teacher's salary, and the implication hangs between you without either of you naming it. You hang up after 11 minutes. You open a browser tab you have kept minimized for 6 weeks, a trading account funded with $5,000 you told yourself was for learning, not for anything serious. The position you placed last Friday is up 18%. You haven't touched it, haven't checked it obsessively, haven't done anything except close the tab and go to work on Monday. And now it has returned more in 4 days than your logistics job returns in 5 weeks. You sit with that number for a long time, and something shifts in the architecture of how you understand the next 10 years of your life. You do not quit your job that night. You are not impulsive in the way that ruins people. But you begin to study, and the studying is different from anything before, because now it is motivated by specific hunger rather than vague ambition. And hunger is a better teacher than curiosity. You read 3 hours every night for 4 months. You paper trade 60 days before putting real money into a second position. You lose $600 on that second trade. And the loss teaches you more than the first win did, because you made the second trade on emotion and the first on a thesis. And the difference between those two things is the entire discipline. By month 9, you are tracking 4 sectors, maintaining a watch list of 22 stocks, and you have developed conditions that must all be true before you place a position. Not guidelines, conditions. Either the setup is there or it isn't, and you do not negotiate with that line. You place the trade. You check the entry price, confirm position size against total capital, verify the stop loss is set where your thesis is invalidated rather than where you feel comfortable, and you close the screen. You go to work. You eat lunch. You do not look at the ticker for 6 hours because looking changes nothing about the underlying business and only changes your emotional state. And your emotional state is not a variable you want in the equation. This is not detachment. Detachment is passive. It is absence. It is refusal to engage. What you practice is more demanding. Full engagement followed by full release. The discipline of trusting your own preparation enough to let the process run without supervision. The market does not need you watching it. The trade is either right or it isn't, and 4 hours of screen watching will not make it more right. You have made the other mistake before. In month 4, you held a position in a mid-cap industrial stock researched for 2 weeks. The thesis was clear. The entry was clean. And on day 3, the stock dropped 4% on sector noise unrelated to the company, and you exited at a small loss. 3 weeks later, the stock was up 27% from your entry. The original thesis had played out exactly as written. You had simply not been present long enough to see it. The lesson was not to hold through every decline. The lesson was to know before entry what kind of decline ends the trade and what kind does not. Then live with that answer, even when the market tests whether you actually believe it. By month 14, you quit logistics. There is no argument, no ultimatum, no liberation. You submit resignation with 30 days notice, train your replacement, and leave on a Friday with the same flat expression you brought every Monday. Your capital at this point is $23,000, including the original $5,000, 11 months of gains, and $4,000 more added from savings after month 6, when the track record had held long enough to justify the commitment. You are not rich. You are funded. Those are different things. You set a monthly expense budget of $2,000, which means the trading operation must generate that minimum plus enough to keep compounding, and the pressure of that number is real. And you let it be real, because traders who pretend the pressure doesn't exist are the ones it destroys from the inside. Month 15 runs against almost everything you hold, not catastrophically, but consistently. The kind of grind where each day takes a small bite before you can account for the total damage. You lose $1,100 that month. You do not change your system. You review every trade, Identify execution errors versus thesis errors versus pure adverse movement. Find one execution error and two sizing mistakes and adjust only those. You leave everything else alone. You do not rebuild the system every time you lose. You find the specific fault and fix only that. Because the impulse after a losing month is to change everything, to conclude the whole approach is broken. And that impulse is what keeps most traders cycling through new systems every 3 months, always starting over, never accumulating the depth that only comes from staying with something long enough to know it from the inside. Month 18, you make $4,100 from 3 trades, all identified through the same process running since month 6. You feel good for about an hour. Then you review and notice that on the 3rd position, the best of the 3, you had sized smaller than your system called for because the setup came during market uncertainty and you second-guessed it. The trade worked. Your hesitation cost roughly $900 in unrealized gains. You write it in the journal as a behavioral error, even though the outcome was fine. This is what it means to hold yourself to the standard. By end of year 2, your capital has grown to $48,000. This is not the number that makes headlines. You are not the person whose story circulates on Reddit threads with the caption, "He turned $5,000 into $1 million in 6 months." You are the person whose equity curve has moved upward with small drawdowns and consistent recovery, whose worst month was down 6% and best month up 18%, whose annual return sits near 34%. You understand what you are building, a track record that will eventually allow you to manage more capital, either your own or someone else's. A track record matters more than any single year's returns, because a single year is a sample size, and serious capital looks for patterns, not events. You place the trade. Every morning, the process is identical. You review the watch list, check conditions against criteria, identify whether any position deserves to be opened or whether the right move is to hold cash. Most mornings, the right move is to wait. Waiting is not inaction. Waiting is the active decision that today's setup does not meet the threshold, that capital is better preserved than deployed in a mediocre opportunity. New traders see cash as a failure mode. You see it as a position, one with zero risk and infinite optionality. And some weeks you hold it all week and walk away having made no trades and lost nothing, which is a result you have learned to value. Your father asks at a family dinner how the job search is going. You explain you are not searching, that you are trading full-time. He asks how much you are making. You give the annual return figure and explain what it means in terms of capital growth. He nods in a way that means he understands the numbers, but not the life, and you accept that. From the outside, it looks like sitting alone in a room looking at screens, which is both accurate and completely misleading about what is actually happening. What is happening is that you are making decisions under uncertainty every single day, decisions where correct process and correct outcome can be completely different things, where you can execute perfectly and still lose, where you can execute poorly and still win. And the only way to stay sane is to measure yourself on the process and let outcomes accumulate over time. Every trade is a data point. No single data point is the story. 3 months into year 3, you have been watching a mid-sized pharmaceutical company for 11 weeks. The setup is the best you have seen in 6 months. Every condition on your checklist is met. You have written a 4-page thesis identifying specific catalysts, none of them speculative. You size the position correctly, set the stop where the thesis would be invalidated, and close the screen. You go to the gym. You cook a meal. You call a friend you haven't spoken to in 3 weeks because the pharmaceutical thesis consumed your non-trading life in ways you are starting to notice and don't entirely like. On day 19, the stock drops 4% on news that concerns a product line representing less than 8% of company revenue. You hold. The stop loss is not hit. The thesis is intact. On day 24, the company announces the licensing deal you had identified as probable, and the stock opens up 9%. You sell half the position, capturing the gain while reducing risk, and hold the remaining half for the second catalyst, which arrives 6 weeks later and takes the remaining position to a total gain of 31% from entry. You review the trade and note that you had briefly opened the brokerage app on day 19 during the 4% drop. You made no changes, but you had looked. The looking costs nothing financially, but represents an erosion of the boundary you had set. And erosions are how rules become suggestions. And suggestions are what amateur traders follow. You write it in the journal. Looked unnecessarily. Behavioral error. Outcome was fine. Standard was not met. By mid-year 3, capital stands at $92,000. The larger number creates larger absolute stakes on every position, and larger absolute stakes are the real test of whether your system and psychology were genuinely sound, or whether they only worked when amounts were emotionally manageable. Every rule built at $5,000 must hold at $92,000, or it never held at all. You place the trade. A consumer staples company during broad market turbulence. Everyone on financial Twitter is talking about risk-off sentiment, defensive positioning, waiting for clarity. You have identified a setup your criteria confirm is valid, and the fearful market mood is irrelevant to your decision, except insofar as it created the entry price you need. Fear creates the discount. Your job is not to share the fear. Your job is to identify when the discount is large enough relative to the fundamentals, enter the position, and walk away. The market drops further over the next 9 days, not the stock specifically, but the broad market, and there is psychological pressure from watching a position sit in a red portfolio, even when the individual name is holding up, because the eye sees red before the analytical mind can intervene and note that what is red is not what matters. You have trained for this. You hold. The market stabilizes. The consumer staples name outperforms during recovery. You exit at 22% above entry. The trade takes 41 days, and you check the position exactly 4 times during that period. 3 years ago, you would have checked 4 times before lunch. By end of year 3, capital stands at $146,000. Annual return, 29%. Slightly below year 2, but more meaningful because the base was larger and the market more difficult. And every dollar generated according to the same rules, consistently applied, without significant deviation. The track record has survived a bad month, a bad quarter, a broad market decline, a sector rotation that temporarily worked against your setups, and a personal period of doubt in month 22, where you seriously considered going back to work. It survived all of that and kept going, not because you are exceptional, but because you have been consistent, which in this business is the rarer quality. A fund manager calls. He has been reviewing your trade journal and track record for 3 months, referred by a friend of a friend in Chicago. The structure he proposes is cleaner than you feared, and you find yourself listening carefully in the second half of the call. You tell him you need 2 weeks. He says, take 3. You hang up and sit with the question, not because you don't know the answer, but because the answer has layers, and you want to understand all of them before you commit. You have watched what outside capital does to traders who weren't ready for it, how the fear of losing someone else's money is sharper than the fear of losing your own, how that sharpness produces premature exits and undersized positions on the best setups and oversized positions when trying to recover a loss. You will decide based on whether the structure allows you to run the same process without modification, without pressure to produce short-term results that override long-term discipline. If it does not allow that, the answer is no. You place the trade and walk away, and in the walking away is the entire argument, the complete thesis, the one thing that supersedes every technical insight and every fundamental read. The trade is either right at entry or it isn't, and your presence after entry changes nothing about that. The work was the research, the sizing, the stop-loss placement. That work is done before you click confirm. After that, the market does what it does, and your job is to have been thorough enough in the preparation that you can afford to let it. The screen is closed. You eat lunch. You go for a walk. The position is open. The stop is set. And somewhere inside an exchange server, a trade with your name on it is either climbing or holding or pulling back toward a level that will close it cleanly and protect the capital for the next one. Whichever of those things is happening, you are doing the only correct thing, which is nothing. The equity curve continues its quiet upward movement, unglamorous in any single moment, and compelling only when you step back far enough to see the whole line. You step back, you see the line, you place the trade and walk away. And the walking away is not the end of anything. It is precisely where the real work begins.